Well, hey there, it's Dolly, and I'm here to give you an update on a few things going on in my life. First, it's concerning my health, and I have some good news and a little bad news. But the good news is I'm responding really well to meds and treatments, and I'm improving every day. Now, the bad news is it's going to take me a little while before I'm up to stage performance level because some of the meds and treatments make me a little bit swimmy-headed, as my grandma used to say. And of course, I can't be dizzy carrying around banjos, guitars, and such on 5-inch heels. And you know that I'm going to be wearing them.
Dolly Parton's final video before her reported death is now being watched in a completely different light, because words that once seemed ordinary are suddenly making fans wonder whether she was trying to say something more than they realized. The legendary singer had spent decades speaking openly about music, family, faith, loss, gratitude, and the importance of making the most of every moment. But her final public appearance has taken on a much heavier meaning after the news surrounding her death. At first, there may have been nothing obviously unusual about what Dolly said. She was still the familiar Dolly Parton people had known for generations, warm, positive, and capable of making even the simplest message feel personal. But when someone is suddenly gone, viewers naturally return to the final things that person said, searching for details they may have overlooked the first time. That is exactly what has happened with Dolly's last video. Fans are now asking whether there was a warning hidden in plain sight, whether something in her words suggested that she understood her circumstances were changing, and perhaps most hauntingly, whether she knew that her time might be shorter than anyone realized. The reference surrounding her final days suggests that Dolly had been facing difficult health circumstances, although the available information does not establish exactly what was happening privately or whether she knew the outcome that was coming. That distinction matters because it is easy after a tragic loss to look backward and connect ordinary statements to events that had not yet happened. But that has not stopped people from revisiting Dolly's final appearance and listening more carefully than before. Suddenly, every sentence feels heavier. Every expression seems to invite another question. And every mention of life, family, or the future can sound different when the audience already knows what happened afterward. Dolly Parton had always been someone who understood the emotional power of words. She built an extraordinary career by taking simple feelings and turning them into songs that could stay with people for decades. Love, heartbreak, hope, loneliness, faith, family, and resilience appeared again and again throughout her work. That is why her final public words are attracting so much attention. Fans are not simply interested in what she said. They are wondering whether those words contained a message she never had the opportunity to explain. The idea that Dolly may have known something was seriously wrong remains a question rather than an established fact, but the timing has made it difficult for many people to ignore. Her final days reportedly came during a period when her health had become a concern, and that has caused viewers to look at her final appearance through an entirely different lens. What seemed like a normal message at the time may now feel like a final chapter. And there is something deeply emotional about that realization because Dolly Parton was never simply another celebrity. For millions of people, she represented comfort. Her voice had been part of their childhoods, their families, their celebrations, and even their hardest moments. Her songs were passed from parents to children and from one generation to another. Her personality became instantly recognizable, not only because of her appearance or success, but because of the warmth she projected whenever she spoke. So when fans hear her final words now, they are not listening to a stranger. They are listening to someone whose voice may have been part of their lives for decades. That is what makes the final video so difficult to watch. There is no way to know exactly what Dolly was thinking at that moment unless she or someone close to her had specifically revealed it. There is no confirmed evidence from the reference material that she knew she was nearing the end of her life. But the possibility is enough to create an emotional mystery that is spread among those revisiting her final appearance. Was she simply continuing to do what she had always done, connecting with the public and sharing her thoughts? Or did she understand that her circumstances were becoming more serious? Did she realize that one of her final messages might eventually be remembered as a goodbye, even if she never called it that? Those are questions that may never receive a clear answer. What makes the situation even more complicated is Dolly's history of strength. She had spent her life overcoming challenges and continuing forward. She came from humble beginnings in Tennessee and eventually became one of the most recognizable figures in American entertainment. She became a songwriter, performer, actress, businesswoman, and philanthropist. But perhaps her greatest achievement was the emotional connection she created with ordinary people. She could make an enormous audience feel as though she were speaking directly to them. That quality made her public messages meaningful, but it also means that fans naturally search those messages for meaning after her passing. Her final video is therefore being viewed not only as a piece of content, but as part of her legacy. People are asking what she wanted to leave behind, what she wanted her audience to remember, and whether there was something in her final words that now feels almost prophetic. Yet there is another possibility that should not be overlooked. Sometimes the final words of a person are not mysterious at all. Sometimes they are simply the words they would have spoken on any ordinary day, and it is only our knowledge of what came afterward that gives them a different meaning. That may ultimately be the case with Dolly. Her final video may not have been a hidden farewell. It may not have contained a secret warning. It may simply have been Dolly being Dolly. But when someone as beloved as her suddenly passes away, even ordinary moments become precious. A smile becomes a memory. A sentence becomes something fans replay. A short video can suddenly feel like a final conversation with someone they never personally knew, but somehow felt they did. And that is why the question surrounding Dolly's last video continues to grow. Did she know something was seriously wrong? The honest answer, based on the information available here, is that we cannot say for certain. There is no confirmed detail in the provided reference proving that Dolly understood she was approaching the end of her life. What we do know is that her final days have caused people to reconsider what they previously watched without thinking twice. The possibility of a warning sign has become part of the conversation because her health struggles reportedly existed before the news of her death, and now those earlier moments feel far more significant. There is also an emotional reason people want to believe she knew. If she did understand what was happening, then perhaps her final video can be interpreted as a deliberate message to the people who loved her. Perhaps every word carried an intention. Perhaps she wanted to leave fans with positivity rather than fear. Perhaps she wanted her audience to remember the joy rather than the uncertainty. But if she did not know, then the video becomes something equally powerful, an ordinary moment that unexpectedly became one of her last. Either way, the emotional impact remains. Dolly Parton spent her life turning difficult experiences into something meaningful. She wrote about pain without allowing pain to define her. She spoke about loss while continuing to find reasons to be grateful. She built a career around resilience, and that makes the idea of her final video especially poignant. Her audience has always looked to her for reassurance, and now they are looking back at her words searching for reassurance again. That may be the most unexpected part of the story. Dolly's final message was never necessarily intended to answer questions about her own future. Yet after her death, fans are using it to ask those very questions. Was there a clue? Was there a warning? Was there a moment when she seemed different? Did she say something that only makes sense now? Or are people simply trying to find meaning in a loss that feels too sudden and too painful to accept? These questions are understandable, but they should not become conclusions without evidence. The most important thing about Dolly's final video may not be whether she secretly knew what was coming. It may be what the video represents now. It is one of the final opportunities fans have to hear her voice, see her smile, and remember the person behind the enormous career. And perhaps that is why the words feel so powerful today. Dolly Parton did not need to know that a particular video would become her last for it to matter. She had already spent decades creating moments that mattered to people. Her music had already become part of countless lives, and her generosity had already reached people far beyond the entertainment industry. Her final appearance simply became the latest piece of a legacy that was already much larger than one video. Still, there is something haunting about watching it now. Knowing that there were health concerns in her final period makes every moment feel more significant. The viewer knows what Dolly could not necessarily have known at the time, that this ordinary appearance might soon become a final memory. That knowledge changes everything. It changes the tone of her voice. It changes the way people interpret her expressions. It changes the way they hear familiar words about life and gratitude. And it creates a question that may remain unanswered forever. Did Dolly Parton sense that something was seriously wrong? Or did she simply continue living and speaking with the same optimism she had shown throughout her extraordinary life? Until verified information from her family or representatives provides a clearer answer, that mystery should remain a mystery. What cannot be questioned is the emotional significance of her final appearance. Dolly Parton's last video now stands as a reminder that we rarely know when an ordinary moment is going to become a final one. A person can speak to an audience, smile at a camera, share a thought, and move on without realizing that people may someday watch that same moment with tears in their eyes. For Dolly, a woman who spent her entire life giving people songs, stories, laughter, and hope, her final appearance has become another piece of that legacy. Whether or not she knew what was coming, her words are now being remembered. Whether or not there was a warning sign, fans are listening more closely. And whether the final video contained a hidden message or simply captured Dolly in one of her last public moments, one truth remains. The woman who spent a lifetime reminding people to find strength in difficult times has now left behind a final message that millions will continue to revisit, searching not only for clues about what happened, but for one more moment with Dolly Parton.